What up, y'all? I did a debate earlier. This is a cat's butt. And we're going to review it. I'm going to make Allie watch it too, just so I know I'm not crazy. This debate was with a buddy of mine, Nick Guillermo. And we've always been very cordial. And he's always been super nice. But he's a petitioner. He's someone who goes out for companies, corporations, the government, and petitions to get laws changed or whatever. Um, and so recently he hit me up and was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about your show." And I was all, "What's up?" And he's like, "Well, I'd love to come on, da 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 da, talk about this, that, and the other. It'd be really fun. I don't want to really do a debate or an argument or anything." And so I was like, "Cool, okay, sure." And then he's the last week, he's been hitting me up a bunch about it, but I was out of town. And then I finally came back, and today did this video with him, and it was interesting to say the least.
Oh, a sec. Let me.
There we go.
There we go.
Got
it. You did my thing.
All right. Greetings.
What's up, dude?
Hey, happy to be here. You have a upside down American flag because you think this country's in peril right now or something?
I do.
Oh, that's too bad. Why aren't you optimistic?
I am optimistic right now.
Oh, good. I want to clarify that. That's good. I did want to clarify we're both here for a good positive cause, and we're here to.
Yeah. So this is so we're doing another. Been doing a series of just like blind debates where I let anyone come and talk to me about anything basically. So here we are.
Fun times and like Bong Ripper 2 away from a good idea.
Yeah. Again, I wanted to again show my appreciation for that video you did several years ago about your links between veganism and anarchy. At the time, I was very much on the fence of going vegan again. I was originally vegan throughout the 90s. I grew up vegetarian. Was vegan throughout the 90s up until I moved to LA. I got involved with all the LA stuff, and it just like, Steve, be quiet. It got distracting from my health, like being in bands and stuff like that. But so at the time I found your video, I had already, been really thinking about it, going back again because I had, vegan guilt over the years, because I was very, very serious about being vegan when I was a teenager. And so I just hadn't had anyone really lay out the political beliefs, and especially in the way you did, pointing out how much state subsidies goes into.
Oh yeah, let's get into it.
Because I heard already.
That's actually deep. Like people need to wake up to this how the system rigged that influence.
Yeah.
Through the causation of wanting to go against the non-aggression principle to cause aggression to creatures and us financially as tax slaves to be their sheep, because that's how they instituted the tax system, was for animal farming and a few other subsidies.
Yeah.
That's how they started to condition us for our own lust for the meat that the wealthy could dine on and steaks they heard about in their train cars.
Yep.
And the people wanted that for themselves. And they're like, yeah, it's just like that plea to collect the collective bargaining they're going to do on our behalf on the basis of inflation, which is trap. It's like giving a fish a hook with a worm on it, and it's like, oh, the fish is stupid. It's their fault for looking at the tasty worm.
Yeah, when my daughter
was born, then they justify their eugenics over us through that tax cattle system.
When my daughter was born, instead of using formula that is mainstream, I bought 2 goats, and this wasn't when I was vegan. I was actually pretty pretty keto at this time. I bought 2 goats to make goat milk formula for my daughter, right? And I saw firsthand how expensive it was to keep and maintain an animal. Like, especially when I was feeding milk to my daughter, so it was obviously had to be organic feed and like all that stuff. And I was blown away at how much money it costs to keep this animal. And then that made
it's
me
all
even
subsidized to be
realize
it's like 80% over the margin of meats to vegetables, as far as how much subsistence you get and how much investment. I think it's more than that. It's so inefficient.
it's crazy.
It's like our power system right now. I'm doing my own hydroponics. You hear the water?
Yeah.
That to me is a form of voluntarist freedom that I'm looking forward to. The last batch died only because I went on a trip to California. I couldn't monitor. It's supposed to be automatic, but you wait too long. I didn't pick them in time, and it got away with itself. But this time I got all these sprouts. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And I was looking at another model that's against the wall, a little bit more compact. And I feel like this is an awesome voluntary solution to the food crisis, to adoption of it. Even vegans just leading the way, being like, the financial system's screwed, but this is if you grow your own foods and participate in that, then you can do everything in your power to not only not feed the system, but then invest in, how you're going to get out yourself financially, like whatever your cause is. So one of the funny things we talked about was discussing flat earth, which I think is not a philosophical problem, but it's a financial problem. And that is that there hasn't been a financial cause to get the high enough powered drone system from all corners of the globe through Flat Earth United to actually scope and seek to penetrate the South Pole on camera. To me, that seems like a financial setback, not in any wise other limitation philosophically. So I don't think debating and using time on that with my time philosophically is worthwhile, but I thought it was interesting because I do see flaws in it. But I am interestingly adopting a love for spiritual consciousness with God, my creator, with geocentrism.
Mm-hmm.
That is an ideal that I find very valuable. And I think that is something, if people in the flat earth community adopt that, then maybe it would be extremely beneficial to them if they live their lives, seeking to be a better person, because the non-aggression principle goes so far. It's also the act of being a servant and helping others, being a good person, do good unto others.
Pause for a second. I'm sorry, maybe I missed it, but how did he jump from heliocentrism to natural law right there? Or what was the connection? Because he kind of just threw it in. From what I heard, he was just... I was just confused. I was just confused. I just wanted to ask you.
You saw the confused look on my face when it flashed at me, like he was kind of jumping around.
I almost feel like he sort of mentioned the heliocentrism, blah, 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 and he kind of threw in some other good stuff on top of it real quick to maybe so you didn't respond to it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened there, but
it's a little weird. And he was talking very strangely. Like, I've seen enough of his videos and I've talked to him enough. He was just talking to me in a really weird way.
And
he wasn't letting me say anything.
Geocentrism, like, basically, you're the center of the universe, and that's all that should matter to you.
Because the only thing missing from the Plutonic model, you've heard of Plutonic solids. The Plutonic,
it almost made me feel like he was kind of trying to emulate someone, like he had a kind of different look on his face and was using like a different
model of the geocentric weird space is a mystery gravitational force, a dark gravitational force that could somehow re-engineer and spiral the rest of the universe, so to speak, from a geocentric core zone underneath the North Star. This dark force in the Platonic model would also be described exactly from the Vedic model, which is known as Manu, which is the actual illusion we see with a lunar and solar eclipse. It's actually a planet moving in front of the sun that's not the moon. It's actually a planet,
Yeah. Yeah, man, I've,
And
I've heard a
yeah.
lot of different.
So I think what he was trying to say there, he was talking about the Vedic tradition and how the eclipse and there's a planet going in front. I think
Yeah.
he was trying to say, oh, we have these old records that point
Yeah.
to
This kind of
the
spiraling
globe
thing with the globe
model of
being in the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
middle and
Okay.
everything else
Okay. All
spiraling
right.
around
Just
it.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, yeah,
um Theories.
Because that would
Okay.
Manu, this gravitational force, the Earth is center, and the spirals are just like a spiralograph.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
With like any like whip or a chain link, we use
Yeah,
those in
yeah.
kung fu, a chain link weapon. There's a central force, and you whip it out, and then you whip it the other way. So that central force in space around the Earth
I think
creates
I've
a
seen
very
like a
beautiful.
I think I've seen like a diagram of that before, where everything's kind of spiraling. But I've definitely seen a lot of different theories, and I'm definitely not a flat earther. I'm an agnostic. I don't believe. I don't know, and I don't know yet. I've seen a lot of theories that are alternative to the one we have, and I think some of them have credibility. And I think since if the option, like if it could be different, I think there's a chance it could be different. And I know the people that taught us, in elementary school definitely had an agenda.
Look,
And
I think we raise $1 million between all flat earthers, be
yeah,
like $10 a piece. You could get drones in every corner of the continent to just fly out there and settle this once and for all. And if you see the all
well, let's
assault of the
fucking do
military
it, man.
sending snipers,
I'm not. I mean, like, I don't.
all go out of radar all of a sudden, we'll know something's up. Okay, we'll
Yeah,
know
for
something's
sure.
up. So,
But
like, that's all it is.
I'm not really. I don't really like. Everybody likes debating. Oh, look, go to the beach and do this and do these experiments and do all this stuff. I kind of like talking about
I like to be
scarcity and
a
why.
solution-oriented person.
I like talking about why the powers that be may want us to think that we're stuck, in on a small piece of land. Like I like talking about scarcity. I like talking about just speculating on the mechanics of why we might, we're slaves, in the system. And
I found out some other things that show we're not slaves. We just live within ignorance of awareness of very interesting facts that haven't
when I
been brought
say
to our
we, I
attention of
mean
our
most
true
people, not
potential
necessarily all of us.
of our true potential as people together. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that as individualists, we have to realize that we cannot settle for collectivism, but we can be individual. And if we can find a united way to coordinate our efforts, we can actually solve these problems ourselves voluntarily. That's my theory. I like to talk about solutions. I like to talk about vision of business and money flowing to everyone in my community being successful for generations. I like to dissolve myself in cryptocurrencies, of course. And now I'm really motivated with the real estate market. I'm getting into decentralization of electricity, like solar power and alternative energies, like this saltwater microbe power and even magnetic power that could be decentralized.
Yeah.
Decentralization is a philosophy, and how we can do that. So Jeffrey, I want to talk to you because we have a lot of like also in cryptocurrencies and veganism and alternative philosophies. We are ready to explore what else awaits our reality. We're trying to define and capture our reality and live the lives that we dream to live ourselves. We want to have a better life for our kids, our family, our community, and be leaders. We should be financial leaders. We should be leaders in coordinating efforts with each other in business and useful services to people that change the world. So what motivates you when you're not online debating with people to just love your life, and what's your passion of drive that allows you to do this?
I mostly when I had kids, that really radicalized me, basically, to be a mover and shaker and try and cause some ripples somehow,
Yeah,
so my kids have a better world to live in when they grow up,
yeah,
and not have to, that especially with all the crypto stuff. It's just not the goal of the crypto stuff is to not have my kids suffer as much as I did, even though I was, most people suffer far worse than I have. I've been quite privileged in my life, to grow up in California
oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I just don't want my kids to be, you know, to have to struggle as much. So that's why I try and, you know, that's mostly the main source of why I do the stuff I do.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I bet your kids are amazing to learn all the alternative philosophy to think for yourself. But I mean, I think that's cool. I do that with my son as well, you
yeah,
know, because we got to challenge him. His mom has him going to traditional school, even though she already claimed to me that she's convinced we would do
yeah, we're in the
homeschooling.
same boat, man.
You know, after the divorce, she sent him there, so I have to unschool my kid daily,
Yeah,
and it's actually a blast. You know what I mean? I love kids do that. They make us motivated. I spend about half my life with my kid when I'm not doing like contract work. My goal between now and July is to not have to go back out to California for my career work that I've been doing
yeah,
and launch a new tech fundraiser, a blockchain DApp. It looks like I'm talking to a developer right now, and he's stoked. It's going to be on Cardano
dope.
because the peer-reviewed logic of it, and it's an undervalued token that our whole community will be able to yield Cardano in a way
Yeah,
from the utility.
Cardano is not the greatest crypto.
I just really want to get into that space for the future to get out of traditional banking and do it so rapidly, because I used to do merchant services. I talked with business owners.
They're the biggest funnelers, not funnels a bad word, they're the bridges of money in our community. The brick and mortars, the mom and pops, the people that take in money that end up being taxed by their tax slave system they don't want to be a part of. So my theory is that if they had a voice in politics, you know, one could teach, maybe that some of them are anarchists, and that's fine. But if they had a way to have a voice to repeal taxes meaningfully, just a small enough effort of local businesses.
At this point, I think this is when it was like a 25 to 28-minute tear this dude went on. And so, like, you could almost skip through it.
Then we could have an economic
Or speed
revitalization
it
of
up,
this
yeah.
country.
Speed it up on your YouTube.
You know, that it was premised on, which is the free market.
Not that,
and that's one of the things we're missing.
What he says isn't important. It's just it was a pretty one-sided conversation for
it can
quite
be
a
very
long
valuable
time
in our
before
lives
things
as
got
entrepreneurs
really
to be a part of that, basically bringing DeFi and crypto to the community.
Starts very
What do you think
slow.
about that idea?
Definitely.
With brick and mortars, do you think that'd be interesting experiment? I studied sales, I did merchant
services. Like, that's my business model, and I have a token with utility behind that. Yeah. I'm actually teaching people how to communicate with businesses, and it's actually going to be backed by merchant services, the standard credit cards, because we give them both options, but we're going to sneak the crypto in the door, because that's how we're going to leverage a whole other marketing platform that the world has never seen, working with charities. And the very ideal of voluntarism, which is the opposite of government, is going to be that every single charity is going to be the benefactors of this, and 100% of their payment services, they used to pay Visa and MasterCard, will be going to the charity. That's 100% tax write-off for them. That's dope. There's a business model, of course, working with the charities, but it's a utility. It's like replacing marketing. It's helping nonprofits. That is voluntarism. This is my big idea, to make people like you influential in your community. People that can network with people all over the world, to have skills and bring business owners into a space that, heck, it's be better to get a tax write-off than pay the government a tax, or pay the Visa and MasterCard and know your rate's stable and going to go down.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and bring in new business. So I'm an innovator. Like, I want to talk about solutions. Whatever your channel's about, and you have arguers, I'm supposed to be that. I'm that shining light in your life, Jeffrey, just as you are in my life, as a radical anarchist minded thinker who's vegan, who gets it, who starts to philosophical discussions, and you are motivated. The problem is, there's got to be a way to bring your voice bigger, and I would love to collaborate with you at bringing your voice bigger on your ideas. I want to monetize the method of argument, so that those winning debates are actually rewarded with cryptocurrencies, stemming from a live debate, like anyone we could have.
Yeah, like I've been
let
wanting
voters
to
weigh
do.
in with the vote pile up for a token, let that token reward those who win the debate, and then apply a utility to that token, like a DAO and other utilities.
Yeah, that could be done with the right social media platform. I talked to Aaron and Kingsley at Float once about what I think, like, on the perfect social media site to me, it would be like your most popular content stays at the top instead of getting swallowed by your stream of not so popular content. And with that, every comment and every like would be like kind of how Steam it was, where like every comment, every like
Yes.
had some
You
donation
gotta
with
get me
it.
into float again. Get me
Yeah.
back into float, please.
And
Please.
you know, having your
Look at
best content stay at the top. So when you go through people's content, you see their best. When you go through people's profiles, you see their best stuff first. Facebook, your
No, I
best
would
stuff
like
gets buried, and you
yeah.
never see it again, and you never see it
If you
again, and
made a
that's it.
video, if you made a video with a brief summary of that video that was catchy, and a
Yeah.
blog as well that could be read about, like why that video was pertinent.
Yeah.
I would share your stuff, because like if you said this is this argument versus this argument versus this argument happens in this video, and you wrote a little blog, I bet you if you did that on Float, which sounds amazing. Like I was in Steam and I made a good profit off of Steam It. That was great.
Did you? Yeah,
But
I got in late to Steam It.
you know, I haven't gotten into Float, and I've been neglecting my kind of social media work, because when I'm out there doing contract work, 80% of my days I'm working 80 90-hour weeks.
Yeah.
My time is just done, and then when I'm back, I'm like raising my son. So
Yeah.
my mission now is to leverage a unique occulted aspect of banking. I would say it's occulted because we know the public education system does not want us to be entrepreneurs and business owners. They want us to struggle to adopt the communist and socialist views of giving up, that the world's in peril, will never be a business owner.
And they don't teach us the basics of what we're capable of doing with the free market, because the funniest illusion that people have ignored and not been able to see through is that because of our social security number, because of all that debt that's attached to it and all the strife associated with this inflation, it's almost our obligation to fulfill our rights. We also have the right, as a U.S. citizen here at least, make a business and with personal credit qualify to not be disqualified for no reason when you have a business model to profit to a bank loan to get unsecured credit with 0% interest. That's without a collateralized loan. That's without a car at stake or a property. That is a business entity taking the hit with an EIN. It's actually an artificial straw man entity that you have that right to take 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. I'm really serious. There's so many banks that leverage this, that one individual within the course of a short amount of time, I mean, there's so many people that have done this, taking action, can get $100,000, $250,000 in 0% loans. And then what's to stop them from achieving their dreams financially and economically than really just putting everything into going big like they've always dreamed? Yeah, what's the risk? Yeah. If you fail at business, it's a big fail. There's bankruptcy courts. Some of that money can pay for it. Yeah. And you yourself are not liable and can try again. So all people need is a business vision and a way to go big. And that's part of me now thinking as an economic activist. I've always been a political activist. You know, that's why we could debate about anarchists for principles, which would be great. But I also feel an economic activism obligation as a not a U.S. citizen, but as a free person of this world, as a sovereign person in argument of the free market, that we need to have a thriving society with jobs and generating for all people, and for people not to complain about the lack of work thereof. If I were a small business lobby, I would adopt the same goals of anarcho-capitalists for the small business and encourage them to appeal against the minimum wage, to abolish it completely, and to just outright strip regulations that prevent them from being successful in their field. Like we could sit down in a meeting and say what policy would do that. And the thing anarchists don't know, they don't use, and it's true they don't know, and it's true they don't use. It's true they don't know that the ballot initiative process lets us strip the government of power and has a history of not being usurped. I've heard all the arguments. It has a history of not being usurped by the government for 100 years in like 95% of the uses. In a few cases where it has, it's been detrimental. But that's not an argument against it. It's an argument why we need more of it. So I would like to see anarchists worldwide adopt the idea that the small town, have you heard about the town in Mexico they call the anarchist town, where everyone kicked out the police and politicians and formed their own small council? Yeah. It's like, have you heard about that town?
Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
Even
you heard it like Jeff Berwick and Podowski?
Yeah. Have you seen, are you familiar with the Mises lecture, chaos theory? Ludwig von Mises?
No, but okay, but I think that would be good. But the one point is I asked you is because it's proven that in that community they called anarchy, what they organized themselves was the general definition of a direct democracy. So anyway, I have a thesis to it, and no, I've definitely looked at some Mises, but I have not heard of that theory. So
yeah, chaos theory is a lecture on how how a society would exist without government, and it's mostly like an insurance. You'd have insurance-based communities. It's just kind of interesting stuff, but it's
I do get that.
It's like 2 hours, and it's a little long, but it's really it's one of the most interesting lectures I've heard.
And that could
I'm not
all
like a
be
big
done on the blockchain. What if there was a
that's what I'm
utility-
talking about. Yeah, like,
that's amazing. Who's building that infrastructure? Are you following tokens that are really like decentralizing governmental services?
Yeah, I mean that's
Out there,
basically
because I mean
the
that's
basis
interesting.
of my bags are on that idea basically.
I'll tell you
Um,
one that was funny. It was about an app. It's not funny. I shouldn't even use that word, but it is about the real world consequences of some situations in government that's debatable. Okay, in India, where there was a lot of abuse against women, where people would just randomly hit women with Punjabs on, or other Indian women. There was like violence against women in different religions. That like they're weaker than them, like people take violence. It's sad because so much stress of it. They wanted to form this app to stop all violence and make an app where they would be alerted, so someone carrying it could be alerted, there's this girl in trouble right on this corner, run over there, jump on your biped, get out there and stand up for this woman. I was like, whoa, that's like an alternative to policing.
yeah, well, there was that app, the 411 app, that came out I think it was like 2013, where you can actually connect other people in your community, like in your neighborhood, and if anything bad happens, you just hit a button and all your neighbors come out.
That was dope.
Or you have a bigger community within the city.
Oh, my friend Max needs that. What is that
Yeah,
called again?
it
Is
was
that
called the
brewing right
411
now?
app, or what? Do you remember what that was? Yeah, it was the
Oh,
411 app back in the day, but I don't
man,
think
poor
it
kids in
lasted
sketchy
very
neighborhoods.
long. But it was a really good idea
Yeah. Have
that
you
needs
ever
to
heard
be
of this?
brought back.
This is what's going on, man. There was a like a pawn shop. No, it was a printer shop that also had a pawn shop in the back, but it was actually consistent of all these stolen items from gypsies that would go around the neighborhood in Oregon, and they break into people's homes and steal all their stuff and bring it to this pawn shop. So my friend Max found his massive speakers for his DJ set up there, the ones that were marked as his.
Yeah.
Got the police involved, got his back, but the pawn shop is still doing their thing. There's nothing going on. No, not this guy's out and about, just running loose, and they know exactly who it is, and nothing's being done about it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's so messed up. It's like
Yeah.
some messed up stuff. There's not a solution for everything in the world right now, but yeah, what do you think about the idea of one person in every state? I'm going to do an NFT. I don't know if you've seen these visuals, 3D and 2D NFTs. They're sick. One person in every state filing one or more ballot measures on behalf of a group coalition between all states and everyone that just starts it to directly repeal corrupt things like property taxes. There's a way this could even appeal in California for like rural areas, like, make it like if the rural population is below such amount, no property taxes, just they're the conservatives anyway that would want it. I don't know, but like states would adopt this, cities and counties can adopt this. It can be done as a ballot initiative in a county. And you could do ballot measures for animals. If there was like a horse track in the town and they're corrupt and they weren't paying taxes, you could bring that to the ballot and say, look, they are harming animals as one of the main arguments to get voters to say, yeah, we don't use a horse track.
This to me is like 51% deciding to shit on the 49%. Like, this is like, we've all been
Anyway,
through
that's
this.
just for outsiders coming in for
lives,
to come into town, and they could shut that down. So
to,
we can leverage ideas of what we know we want to stop in government and write an initiative to block it. And that's my vision, is get an NFT, build some infrastructure, build the DApp, and build a debate protocol where someone like you could earn tokens. It's just a very idea of stemming from a debate. People bring facts up, because I've seen how you get into it online, and you bring up facts, and then the consensus would have to be on the validity of those facts, like something a little bit better than how people just rant and don't go anywhere. Then archive that in a blockchain system. I like the idea of Float. My goal is maybe use Float and a collection of blockchain social media, so people have some leverage between them, where if you're creating media and I'm creating media, we could start using that to argue in favor of repealing government policies. And then we could draft our initiatives based on that. That's my idea of the initiative quorum, and I have a token for that.
It's pretty tough for me to like speculate and hypothesize doing anything within this system right now, how we have it. It's really tough to you know, it's like just using this system clearly, using the system to overcome the system is just a really stretch for me, you know. So I try
I get
and
that, but that's what is that therein comes the debate. So let's use an example where I single-handedly was one of the top signature collectors in Tucson to block and get rid of traffic camera tickets,
yeah,
and we got rid of them at the ballot.
yeah.
So what is your argument against that solution we just created?
Well, that's a it's a. I mean, I get on the local level you can make stuff happen, but I'm talking about like stopping the
Let's do it at the
government from
state level. Let me
dropping
how about
bombs on other
stopping
countries and stuff like that.
20,000? Let's stop there. I'm framing the conversation, your agreement at the local level. You agree that a ballot initiative can work on a local level, and it's recorded, and you're publishing this to YouTube, aren't you? So that's good.
No,
You
not
do.
right. This is just in Zoom.
Yeah. See.
Zoom's just
Oh, you're not
recording
recording? I thought you were recording.
No,
oh,
we're recording. Zoom records it and sends us both a link to it when it's done.
Oh, okay. So you
And
can,
then you can put
do
it
not
anywhere.
run a YouTube? Like your whole thing is about getting traction, right? You're publishing.
thought
I
he
just
was
want to
saying I
see,
was doing it
like,
live.
I'm agree with you. My goal is to get you to agree
that
and
was-
know
Yeah,
how we
yeah,
can
this
be
is
active
strange
instead of being a
little
little pessimistic when you said, I don't know if we could change
Personality
anything.
change right there.
I was a little, yeah, I was just a little
So because
confused as to
I did not know what I was getting into, and that's why I'm doing these videos, because it's like as long as I've known this dude, he's been pretty like cordial, but I had like he didn't let me talk at all, and he was like talking over me when I did talk. He'd ask a question, and I wasn't able to answer it because he talked over me.
it seemed that there's a little
And then
I was confused just now, like when he kind of like he laughed and had like a smirk, like, oh, you're putting this on YouTube, right? Like implying like, oh, you're
he
trying
got
to
me
like,
at something,
or like you're trying to pull something, or like I don't know.
Well, he thinks he caught me saying that I agree that on a local level,
got it. Yeah.
there might
And
be
he's
some
like, oh,
sort
you're
of
gonna put this
point
out,
to
right?
doing assembly ballots.
Yeah, like he's like, oh, I got you right there.
Yeah.
But that's not.
Like I know in LA they got rid of traffic tickets just
Right,
because
yeah.
everyone fucking hated them.
I
Like,
would say that,
everyone
yeah,
hated
just
'em.
because it's totally,
But-
like you said, on the local level, you can't, it's easier to affect
Sure, maybe.
law changes,
Yeah.
sure,
But
right?
not the laws that I want to change.
And that's
Not-
kind of missing the bigger. I mean, like you said, but when it
like,
comes
I
to
wanna
government
change
dropping
laws.
bombs,
Yeah, I want to.
there's more work. The comfort we may get from changing, this ballot measure on a local level, it's still feeding into the government, feeding the beast, so to
Yes.
speak, and you're giving that beast power to continue to do these things,
And
like
you're
killing
wasting your
people
time.
around the world, and
You're being distracted on
ultimately, yeah, it's
matter.
time and energy, right?
Yeah.
All this collecting signatures and that's a lot of time and energy, and
And
we only have
me-
so much time. Like,
I got people telling me all the time that I should be spending my time doing other things, and as you'll see, this is
With the
another one of
system
those
using
times.
the system. I've heard that argument before, but it's just like this credit loan, the 0% loan. What's stopping you from having $200,000 in the next year from a loan that you flip into the biggest business following your dreams using the system to your advantage?
Inflation,
Like,
bro.
perfect. No, but you put it. You can even put it in crypto. They can't stop you. And
Yeah,
I
but
especially if
crypto
you buy.
moves too.
You know how I know buying before the bull market when the halving happens. I believe it's going to be about at least a year and happen around the halving. We're just supposed to dollar cost average until then. My vision, I could get some of this loan right then too, and just even have another business set up by then and then do another one and then go blop and then leverage that into some massive, because I get 12, 15, 18 months. This is an industry of new entrepreneurs going against the government and what they've been taught to help people, to help business owners. New entrepreneurs are doing this. It's called credit stacking. I've talked to like 5 different people in their consulting services. They generally have high ticket prices, but I've done some research and I'm jumping in. I'm excited because for me, we can also change the system in these neo-political ways, new political ways that are not statist. They're not relying on politicians. It's decentralized power. But it is political because it relies on a vote, which is nothing more than authentication of our.
I think what he meant to say, it's a it's like a grassroots, but you're still affecting the system, though. It's
Yeah.
still, I wouldn't necessarily agree with what that statement.
Will to succeed in having the lawmakers and drafters and followers recognize their limits they have on us, which is what the framework of the Bill and Rights were. Because you can't just step into a new country and say, and not imagine anyone's going to step up to try to say, we're going to have the best new philosophy against a tyrannical kind of hierarchical system they didn't like from Europe, and not have a list of items that the government cannot violate, like the 10 commandments. I mean, the 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, I should say. Excuse me, Bill of Rights. Because what else is that but a list of things that says the government cannot do? And our job as a citizenry is to reinforce that. Because even Ben Franklin said, it's only a republic if you can keep it, ma'am. You know, what is that activity? It's not relying on the politicians, though, because they believed in a more direct democracy, but the republic doesn't want to appeal to that because they like the control. They stole the model from the Native Americans, which had a council in a long house where they had to have a direct democracy consensus rooted in spiritual awareness, like us, with the non-aggression principle, like us. And spiritual awareness in these longhouses, they came to 100% direct democracy consensus before they would agree to any land changes, you know, and things shifting of agreements. But they took that model. They did not include the fact that every voice was heard. So states forming, moving west, and some of them like Maine and Florida, adopted within the First Amendment
3 massive parts, and the one that I'm talking about is the most overlooked. And the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights is the right to free speech, the right to petition, and the right to freedom of speech and the press, right to petition, the right of religion. But it's the right of petition. And people don't know what that petition implies because it opens up a whole new definition, a whole new history, a whole new subset of facts that prove that that legal petitioning process has value to let the people reject policy of the state. It's been doing so for about over 100 years. And we're not talking about an appeal to authority to say, plead to them, oh, I'd like you to change the law and don't do this to us. I'm talking about an overriding system that is of the true we the people, that is not hierarchical, that has the ballot initiative process built into it.
Appeal to authority sounds like that. It sounds like you're asking the authority for something, but that's a fallacy. I think Nico might have had some edibles before this debate.
Its constitution. California is one of them. They often do it wrong. You know, I was just there in California, loving my job, teaching people about how we need to abolish the fast food minimum wage because of Marxism and because of the the minimum wage council set to apply to any business that their bureaucracy becomes enforced to do so, to create a socialist state. Just like they want to give reparations out to every black person, right? So they want to like inflate the borrowing from the Fed to infinity there. You know, like it's ridiculous. But I was teaching them about the free market and how we can stop the government's power to arbitrarily raise the wages on any stupid industry that doesn't generate
interest and skills. Let's just say it. A person who's flipping burgers is not applying themselves in life if that's the best they think they can get for themselves, that they have to demand free health care and subsidies, you know, paid for on the price of food and taxes, you know, and they can't expect free health care and a higher wage than like a mechanic, an entry-level
mechanic. Can you imagine how that would destroy your industry if you can't even hire workers for the cars you're getting fixed because the fast food giants they don't want to work for you because they say, Jeff, you know, it was nice working for McDonald's is going to pay me $25 an hour in full healthcare. So, you know, I can't be an apprentice for you right now. That would just destroy the automotive industry.
Hey, so Nick, you said you wanted to hear my voice a couple times. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, why can't you file a petition on our behalf as a people to help the animals or help repeal taxes?
I don't believe in that
is legal
system in the least bit, so I wouldn't
You
want
use
to
the
go
word
and
belief, which means that your root at your core,
supporters.
the word belief is not based on any true facts or sound evidence to give you grounding and affirmation and confirmation for yourself. You know it's a belief, so let me shatter your paradigm, please.
But the belief is required in order to participate.
Mm-hmm.
I get what he's saying, but
Love your share. Don't you love your paradigm shattered? I mean, isn't that you got this far for? Isn't that why you got here?
Shattering my paradigm by showing me by pointing me in the direction of the state. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No. It's showing you the direction of, okay, a legal system that upholds that people's rights cannot be violated, the Bill of Rights. It's the direction of the legal system to use that to
idea.
block the state from being so egregious. Go ahead.
I'm not sure we're going to get anywhere on this subject because I just I understand where you're coming from, especially with your job and all that. I get that.
job.
But how about let's talk about
Also a civic
dinosaurs?
duty.
How about that? You want to talk about
Okay,
dinosaurs?
what do you say about
you brought
how
that
did they
up.
Okay,
plant
wait. Before you change the subject to dinosaurs, okay, let's like review for a second. So
he's talking about status shit, and that's not
his argument.
He's like one of these like people that hates centrists, or like, you know, like, oh, third party vote is a vote for the libs or something like that.
But he himself is a centrist.
Yes.
On the true political spectrum. I'm not talking
Compared
about
to me, for
left
sure.
and right, but I'm talking about from true freedom,
Yes.
anarchy to full Orwellian one state government. He's in the middle of that spectrum here. What with the argument he's saying, and with these processes and methods of bringing about change, petitioning the system that's already in place, and his argument's basically the equivalent of, okay, you know, we talk about the comparison, like the Lord of the Rings, and like there's the ring, and whoever holds the ring, you know, it's so corruptible because the power is so corruptible. What he's basically saying, well, oh, if I had the ring, this me carry the
I explain that.
We
basically.
get our people controlling the government, then it'll be better. And it's like, no, that's that.
All humans are corruptible, even Ron Paul.
Yeah,
like, your best.
Yeah, I mean,
your favorite guy. You know, like, why we know each other basically because of that. Like,
so I understand why you.
It's really just I'm not interested in talking about the stuff anymore. I spent my 35 years of my life dealing with politics. Like, the way they do everything and trying to run businesses. Like, I've owned businesses and I've gotten shut down by the state. This dude just doesn't know my life. He doesn't know what I've been through. And he's making assumptions, and he has some idea of who I am. That's just like a preconceived kind of.
And I think he assumes you guys are closer in your thought processes and than what you really
it
are.
Happens
like,
a lot.
I don't think he realizes he himself, what I was just saying about being a political centrist in the true political spectrum. I think he fancies himself a little bit closer to the true freedom, libertarian, anarchist. But
he throws it in there every once in a
he's
while
main party
in between
libertarian,
all his
though.
stated
This is-
centrist rhetoric.
Yes, all this rhetoric is main party, like libertarian
he throws in
party
voluntarism,
rhetoric.
like say a couple words here and there that are relevant.
I mean, he said the anarchists should vote, basically. I mean, not vote, but petition the government, which is,
it's just, and
my vote.
He's not going to convince me of anything, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
you're like, I want to talk about dinosaurs.
I was like, we got other things we could talk about. You just spent 40 minutes on this, dude, and you didn't even let me talk. And it's and I'm like, God, well, it's just I'm falling asleep, man.
You can't.
And it's not. I'm not saying I wasn't I was paying attention. It's just not what the topic I want to be. Like, I spent years talking to people about that kind of stuff, and it's not that I don't need. It's not that I'm not going to continue to talk to people about that stuff. I just don't want to talk about it with him. Like,
on this, right
like
now,
it's infield baseball. He's not going to convince me that I should be petitioning the state for things. So it's just like, let's switch.
Let's talk about dinosaurs, but you gotta let me get a word in every once in a while, all right?
Okay.
So what is your position on dinosaurs?
That's fair.
They were real, but they were around simultaneously with humans, and that the Smithsonian and all these institutions in government are covering up the fact that they were an integrated part of our history so they could form their own worldview of
So okay,
hey.
All right. Okay. That's a relevant argument. Sure. Like, I'm completely opening to hearing things like that and hearing why people would believe that. And it's very strange to hear that come from him, because he's being very critical of me doing that. Me saying I don't think the dinosaur stuff is real is just as crazy as him saying, oh, I think humans live with the dinosaurs.
Yes.
But he's going to be very, very, very critical of me thinking that,
if you are open-minded enough to consider them, the dinosaurs and humans existing at the same time, then
like all these musktards that think, oh yeah, we're because Elon Musk said so, we're living in a simulation, you know, but flat Earth is completely
Yeah, but
off the fucking
we live in
table.
a
We're
simulation, but flat
flat
Earth is
Earthers are
absolutely
retarded. Yeah,
crazy.
absolutely hilarious. Double
Okay,
standard.
what's the
basically,
timeline on that? So you think dinosaurs were around like a couple hundred years ago, a couple thousand years?
That's hard to say. There could very well have suggestions that there could even be like some dinosaurs like Loch Ness Monster,
So you're
perhaps.
saying, wait, so humans have been around long?
And Loch Ness Monster also. Not like I'm like I get like sure like could be, but it's just funny like sorry. Here.
Yeah.
Longer or
his final argument is just the funniest thing because it's my lack of evidence. And so looking at it again, he's saying Loch Ness Monster is real and stuff like that. There's no evidence for that either. So it's not okay for me to speculate, but it's okay.
dinosaurs
For
were
him to.
closer to us?
When I think that humans made the large ones extinct through hunting.
Okay, but how long ago?
Like when you
how
hear
long
fairy tales.
How long have humans been around?
Or just large mammals or something.
Dinosaurs. He thinks we killed them off.
Oh shit! So that's a crazy theory, yo.
With
That's
no
crazy.
evidence.
I mean, not like crazy, like it's complete. I mean, maybe, but
that's pretty wild.
That's a wild one. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it was probably around 4,000, 5,000 years
Okay.
ago.
Makes sense.
How long have humans been around? Is that
Well,
what you
how,
asked?
in your timeline
Yeah.
with the dinosaur thing, like because
well,
dinosaurs are supposed to
I
be millions of
actually
years out.
Yes. I orient myself to the most authoritative scriptures when asking philosophical questions. The authoritative scriptures of philosophy, which are the world's oldest, which are found to be mirrored, and religions don't want to agree to this, but they've been mirrored and rewritten and basically plagiarized from the ancient Vedas, which are the archaeologically world's oldest, with the Sanskrit literature.
It's like Hindus and stuff like that, right? Like old
Yeah,
Hindu
the
stuff.
whole yeah, because basically, historically, that is an artifactual. There's artifactual evidence. I think that there's a lot to mankind. Like even that, I believe that there.
Like I asked, like you mean like Hinduism to try and get him going on.
Their topic is that we've been on this world for hundreds and hundreds of millions of years.
Oh, okay. Hundreds of millions.
Okay,
of years.
yeah. So
So again,
he
that's
said 3 to 4
that's
thousand.
an open-minded, you know, or
That's
that's or not. Yeah, you're open-minded to alternative history, alternative from.
Yeah, if you're
from
making those kinds of claims,
what we're told
why-
from our authoritative sources,
why is what I'm saying so crazy if you're
or why
if you believe that
questioning
kind of
dinosaurs
thing?
being
Yeah.
real? That should be totally in line. I mean,
Dinosaurs are hard for people because we have been brainwashed to love them.
I mean, cultural conditioning, right? Like,
yeah. So, and it's just like space travel. It's the same
whether
thing. They've been
whether
so
they're real or not,
conditioned.
yeah, whether space is real or not, or whether dinosaurs are real or not, you cannot deny that our cultural conditioning is there to, you know,
People
be
cry.
aware of those things. Like, yeah,
People
where
get
it's
crazy over those two topics.
yeah, yeah.
Hundreds and
okay.
hundreds of and hundreds of
So you
thousands.
put
And actually,
the human timeline larger.
it's got a long future.
Yeah.
So I was trying to ask him if he thinks we've been around way back far, you know, like if we went back to the dinosaurs or the dinosaurs came like we're closer, and he
So for and then for he's
but then he said 4,000 years ago we wiped out the dinosaurs, but we've been hanging out with them for millions of years, I guess.
Or no, I think he's saying humans have been around for hundreds of millions or millions of years, and then dinosaurs were around for a short amount of time, and humans wiped them out through hunting them.
Okay.
We were hanging out with dinosaurs
far
millions of
long.
years ago.
And the
Humans.
planet.
Okay.
Because even the galactic timeline is larger into the.
Well, for sure, of course. But I'm talking about like dinosaurs as we know them in the last, you know, since the early 1800s is when really dinosaurs popped up on the scene, as far as in our history. Like, do you know about the Bone
I think
Wars?
the fairy tales of knights, you know, European kingdoms and knights slaying dragons.
Yeah.
That folklore was based on a real time of execution of these sometimes friendly giants. Honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
That was part of their, because they were very sure that they were part of the demonic race that had to be executed at that time.
So you think that there was,
because some of them hunted.
there was like a reset where they got rid of most of the dragons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really feel that. I think that is a mass execution, just like the dodo bird, just like so many animals that in today's
but we
day and
have
age are being
we have
executed.
dodo bird bones though, like complete dodo birds. It's a little bit different when we're talking about dinosaurs. When we don't have, I can't go see a dinosaur bone right
there's
now.
obviously a period of like saber-toothed tigers, woolly mammoth. They have fully formed in the with the wool.
That was
That's
more
the
recently,
actual,
though. I can go see saber-toothed tiger bones
yeah,
a half hour away at the La Brea Tar Pits right now, but I can't go see any dinosaur bones. What's up with that?
So that just means that's not a logical reason to think that they don't exist, because you can't
Sure
find
it
them.
is. If I only know they exist through appealing to authority, which you used that term in the wrong way earlier. Appeal to authority is when you look to authority to be to give you the truth, huh?
Wait, no, that's one location. What about all the other locations they found dinosaur bones, Jeff?
Where?
Everywhere. Every archaeologist that uses brushes and digs into the soil, that does this for a profession and gets
only
grants from
archaeologists
university.
find them then?
Because that's their career, is to learn how to delicately brush them, know what places in the earth to look, to try to sort out.
How come we aren't finding them in our backyards? It's always
some people do. My mom found old ancient whale bones on Clearwater Beach. She found whale bones on Clearwater Beach from a rib from a whale.
Whales,
she had tested it.
That's whales.
No, but it was like an ancient
dinosaurs.
whale. It was like, bro, this was like a prehistoric whale, bro. This is like a prehistoric whale, bro.
I can't. No dinosaur bone has ever been independently researched outside of the government.
I mean, like, can we not just sort this out?
I can't go take a picture of a real dinosaur bone
of archaeologists. They're massive teeth.
Look at
they're
this.
massive
I can't go see them.
Massive teeth, massive skeletons.
Body language was really weird.
Where are
there.
massive dinosaur teeth on?
Go to Washington D.C. They have a museum. You can walk in and see them.
Okay, so obviously he hasn't watched Bone Wars. Obviously he hasn't, and yeah, if y'all haven't, you got you gotta just YouTube Bone Wars. I mean, come on.
It's the most ridiculous story you've ever heard.
You made a video about it, right?
Yeah, I made a video about it, and then I mentioned I get into it.
You gotta like, regardless of if you you get into it.
It's the most contrived, like, fake story you've ever heard to manufacture an entire industry of research, of like a entire arm of science that's completely fabricated, and was fabricated somewhat recently by the powers that be, in order to fake a timeline, or who knows, really.
A lot, yeah, and just fact of the matter is, a lot of these dino bones are not real. Like in museums, what you're looking at are not real. Like they've got
from other animals.
Because we think, I mean, at least I think, okay, we've all seen Jurassic Park and stuff, and like we think of, like, when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, I thought like I thought I'd find dinosaur bones one day, and you find an entire skeleton, like a perfect T-Rex, just laying on its side,
or one bone, and it's like the size of 5 cars.
But that's not the reality of these things that you look at in
Jurassic
museums.
Park, when they're like, look at the Brontosaurus, and the Brontosaurus is the size of a city block.
Yeah.
It's
they find a piece of something, of organic bone material, something, and then they're like, oh, well, this was a part of this whole, and like maybe not, but yeah, homie obviously doesn't really know that.
And it's like, and the Bone Wars is our only history about dinosaurs in the US. So it's like, if you're gonna, and he asked to do this debate with me, and asked that we talk about flat earth, dinosaurs, and all these other things, but then he like glosses over, he doesn't want to seem to talk about this stuff, because I actually know what I'm talking about, and I've actually done a lot of research on it. So if he doesn't even know what the Bone Wars were,
did he mention
when it's like a mainstream, no, for sure. Yeah, he sent me some link to some recent discovery, and he's all, you really don't believe in dinosaurs? And I was like, no, dinosaurs aren't real, bro. Like, they're fabrication.
Those aren't real, though.
Okay.
Any museum I go to, none of those bones are real.
That there isn't, maybe there's a real Mona Lisa in the museum.
Hold on,
I
know
figured
about
they
the
just
Smithsonian,
shellacked the
right?
stuff.
Do you agree the Smithsonian is too?
Yeah, he knows that. Yeah, there is a
So
level of
believe
corruption
the
there with that entity. Like,
government lies, except for when it comes to NASA, and space stuff,
and
but
dinos.
then Smithsonian lies, except about dinosaurs.
I know
is
that
a
they
positive
covered up
entity
some.
that has our historical, like they're in line with our history. They keep a good record of our history.
I'll
the
give you that,
Smithsonian.
but I think that they have to share some truth, and we have to see a fossilized skeleton
Sure.
and know that there's been archaeologists worldwide for must be decades that have discovered bones all over the world of things with massive teeth. Their skeletal structure, their rib cages are massive. They found giant feet. They found all kinds of things.
Only
Feet.
parts.
You don't
They've only
think any
found
of
parts.
they all? How did it get buried under the soil for them to find it with their
Hands?
little brush whenever they
Millions
videotape
of
these?
years
And
of
there's so much
animals
stuff.
dying in the North America. Millions and millions of years of animals dying in North America, and they just pick out these bones that they imagine are these giant lizards. And this is the Smithsonian that's telling you, and the U.S. Geological Survey, like all USGS scraped our
It's a
history
scientific
off of.
study. It sounds to me like they put a real study, like a puzzle piece. They had to piece together the
Oh,
pieces of the
boy.
bones, whether
Smithsonian.
real bones. If the bones are
Smithsonian.
real, that's all we need to
They're
substantiate.
bones.
The bones are real.
They're real.
Just a
They
matter of-
may be
do
bones.
we
They
agree
may
with the
be
facts?
anomalies, but they're most
Let's ask a
likely not
survey,
giant lizard bones.
not a survey,
You know
but
what
let's
Occam's
go
razor
find
is?
a fact-finding research. You have to now prove that any one of those bones that they have found are faked. Any
No,
archaeologist
they
that
have to
pulled up
prove
a-
that they're real. That's how science works.
No, that's but your doubt for no like no man.
Look at this
You're
body.
trying to
Look at
find
his
evidence.
body
It's based off
language. Look at this
hypothesis.
body
You're not-
language.
you're not-
He's
It's all,
coping.
oh, this is what we
He's
think.
hugging himself.
Well, yeah, and he said you doubt for no reason. And
Look
it's like
at him
you
coping
guys
right
just
now.
talked about the reason. You're questioning the
He's
integrity
holding
of the
himself.
Smithsonian's.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah,
No,
like,
don't tell me this. He doesn't want to hear this stuff.
Maybe this was good.
They look like
Evidence
just
too.
like
for
space
him.
travel and NASA with all their CGI videos. It's the same thing. It's all hypothesis. We can't really show you a picture of it, but we're going to show you a picture of what we think it looks like. That's not science.
I know.
That's
I guess some of it
pseudoscience.
looks real, some of it looks
Aw.
like it
You
could
know
be
now?
CGI.
And
It's hard to decide.
without appealing to authority, and authority being the Smithsonian and the Hollywood media and our elementary schools,
No, it
without
also just
saying that
Google
they're totally
searches.
right about
Just-
it, we don't have any evidence of any of it.
Man, is it really appeal to authority to know that I could go on any search engine and look up archaeologists' findings?
Yes,
and now
that is most
say
definitely
that-
an appeal
and
to
then so your
authority.
theory is that every single one of them is a fraud that somehow put plaster together something real smooth that looked like a bone, and they
That's what they
buried it
do.
under the earth and then dusted it away so
There's
that
a
they
ma-
could
there's
say,
a
"Oh,
place
they are
in
right
China
now."
that-
Right? I don't. That's not what the argument is. The argument was that they find bones and
Rockets are real.
manufacture the rest of the
Yeah.
skeleton from a real piece of
Rockets
bone.
go into
Not
the
that they're-
sky,
Yeah,
but it's what they do beyond that.
we
that
know.
the deception
or yeah,
is.
we
you
can
know,
say
like,
that yes,
the
people
bones
can
are
see-
real. They're not dinosaur bones. There are bones,
There's
but they're
bones,
not
yeah.
dinosaur bones. Like
Yeah, I misrepresented your argument there completely.
Built
And
all
and
the-
using Occam's razor, you're not going to go to these are giant fucking lizard bones. You're going to go, okay, this is probably, who knows, a woolly mammoth. They're going to say, oh, we carbon dated it, but like that's all bullshit.
Carbon dating can be it's not
It's a crock.
it's not
of
100%.
It's a
At the
crock.
very least, it's not
It's a
100%.
crock.
dinosaur
Oh,
exhibits
no.
for all the museums in the
Yeah.
U.S.
You know how much of our science is held together by carbon dating?
Yeah,
Our
a
crazy,
lot.
these crazy
A lot.
numbers that they put on all this history stuff.
Yeah.
68 to 70 million years ago, this happened because we carbon dated this thing. And it's like, I don't know, guys. Like, these numbers are nuts.
Bone, and they
That's what they
buried it
do.
under the earth and then dusted it away so
There's
that they could say,
there's a
"Oh,
place
they are
in
right
China
now
that builds
discovering
all the
bones."
dinosaur
Oh,
exhibits
man.
for all the museums in the U.S.
What a waste
That's
of
actually
effort.
what
Okay,
they
well,
do.
I won't
It's
argue
true.
that they
Look it
don't
up.
have the billions of dollars at their disposal to fraud such stuff, but I will argue, why don't we file petitions to take away their authority to do such things? Because they're
Because that's
creating
never
this.
gonna
It's
happen.
like
Always bring it back to the petition. Why don't
Yeah.
we petition them to stop faking
and
dinosaurs?
it's like the whole Justin thing where it's just like, he eventually just like agrees and then changes the subject. And
Yeah.
it's like, Okay, then what are we debating here? If you're like gonna just eventually agree with with everything I'm saying, like, I mean, I guess that's the point of a debate, but you
Or
have to at least admit, you have to concede and not do what he's about to do.
Happen in my
Problem.
lifetime.
And
I'm
no,
like
look,
trying
I'll
to
give you
do
another
things
example.
now.
There's 100 years of history, 100 years of history that prove you wrong. Let's give
There
you the
is
recent
none.
example: legalize marijuana to the degree they stop arresting 20,000 people realistically in Arizona. That's a statistic, and now they're not rotting in jail, and that's
No.
less prison industrial complex, and we're stripping the power to arrest people for cannabis.
When
What
they
about
did that in
How's that as not a
California,
solution?
where nobody was getting in jail before they legalized California here, and now they have the laws to put people back in jail for marijuana. I don't know exactly how they're doing it in Arizona, but
No.
legalizing it in
People just
California
buy it
made
from the
things completely
dispensary,
worse.
or they pick it up on the black market, no problem. If
Okay,
they're
then
caught with
that's
it, the
gray
cops
market.
don't bat an eye. I've been to California. The weed is so legal there, bro. Like, you're trying to argue that that is not a successful solution that took away and stripped the state's power from taking
That's
away
a
people's
straw
rights.
man. That's not at all what I said.
Bro, but that's what it did then. Then why can't
I
you
said
agree with me?
when weed was a gray item in
state power's
California,
gone.
no one was going to jail for it. No, like cops would give us our
Come
weed
on, you're
back.
looking at any. We already know
Now,
Kamala
if we
Harris put all
carry
these
the weed
people
wrong,
in jail.
or if we don't have there are now laws against marijuana where there weren't before when it was just
DUI
gray.
laws for marijuana. Now it's
Like
not
once they
legalized.
legalized when it was medicinal,
Yeah.
there's a difference between legal and medicinal. For the last 15, 20 years in
Medicinal,
California,
because
medicinal
people
weed
that had
was
it
legal,
recreational
and it was gray,
still
and
go to
cops
jail.
didn't
and
care
got
about
better.
it. There was not a single law on the books in California
No, that's
against
not
marijuana.
true, bro. They'd get
Now
pulled
that
over for a
weed has
traffic
been
stop and throw
legalized,
people in jail.
now there are
Let's go
laws
look at how many
against
people were thrown in
marijuana,
jail.
and people are going
bro.
back to jail for growing marijuana, and
No,
big
but
grows
your
are being
retroactive
rated
truth is
again,
not-
just like they were in the 80s.
It's
It's
disingenuous,
not,
bro.
it's using the
sorry.
state to try and
That's not
fix
true.
these problems is completely
Sorry,
pointless.
that's not true.
We've already
You
tried
reversed
that.
the-
My dad tried
the
that
truth
in the
of the
60s,
history,
bro. Like he went, they got no.
Also in California, in the legalization law,
Mhm.
a certain amount of the tax generation generated were going towards a new police group that is out there busting the clinics
For not being 100%
Yes.
to the regulate up to whatever regulation
Yes.
for the
and,
now
and they
new
immediately
legalized
shut
industry.
like 150 clubs down. And this is what Nico helped, because he's fighting this so hard because he helped push the legalization with, what was it, Ron Paul, and he was a part of the petitioning campaign, and so he has a very emotional attachment with the California weed legalization thing. But you'll see
people were in jail in the 60s. People were in jail for pot in the 60s, and they still were up until legalization. Your argument is mute. Ask anyone who survived incarceration.
Bro, it's moot.
Bro, go to any search engine. Go to any proof. You have no proof for your argument. So you think because you've never done the due diligence to look up things. Therefore, if I present you with one, this is why a debate has to be monetized. This has been one of the
strangest interviews I've ever had, dude.
If I was,
you haven't let me say a word.
Facts, the authenticity of your facts versus mine, people would see that your facts. If you look in the year before medical,
I'm not
how many
anything.
people were arrested for marijuana? You would see that you are 100% wrong in your assumption that
that's not what I'm saying, though. You're completely you're doing a big straw man here. That's not at all what I said.
But then
I appreciate that you listened to half of what I said, but you didn't listen to the other half.
You said that the people weren't arrested before medical. Now they're arresting more people.
I said during the time of medical, when it was gray, nobody got arrested. There was not a law against marijuana on
That's
the books
where I could
in
find at least
California.
1, 2, or several thousand people arrested for using it without a medical card. You're wrong. I can look it up. you'll have to friggin' eat your shorts in agony
No.
as you realize.
In
your
order to
argument's
arrest
true.
someone,
I'll find this fact right now.
in order
I'll
to
post them in
arrest
your chat.
someone for not having a medical
the
card,
fact that
you
I have to
take
embarrass
them
you like this,
to court.
you can't
It's
even
a ticket.
take my
They
word.
give you a ticket. You have to go to court and prove that you have a medical. And it's a fix-it ticket. You're allowed to go get a medical.
What if you don't
and
have
show up
medical?
with it, and they drop.
What if you don't have medical? What if you're from a
Dude,
different
they
state?
gave medical to everyone. You go in there
No,
and
they
say you have
didn't.
ADD, and they give you medical.
No, not if you're from a different state or you don't have medical. There's plenty of people that didn't, bro.
That's
There's
not what
plenty
I'm
of people.
talking
I'm gonna
about.
look it up right
I'm
now.
talking about
During
the general population of California, the people that live here.
the
people
general,
that
see
get
how you're wrong. Now look up how many people before marijuana was legal for medical that were arrested, and tell me you don't
That's
see
not
some
what
progress.
I'm talking about. That was never what I was talking
Then
about.
why would you have a fallacious argument on something where that isn't even the point, which
Which
is the
argument
ballot
of mine was
initiative process
fallacious?
reduces the power of the state?
Which argument of mine was fallacious?
Because it does not argue against my point
Because
that the
isn't
ballot
an
initiative
answer.
process reduces the power of the state. Because it's fallacious, because it's a new argument about how many
No,
people
what's
were
the
arrested
fallacy?
with medical.
Cite the fallacy specifically.
That we don't have the power to supersede
No, the
government.
rule I
and
broke,
free
dude.
freedom.
What rule did I break?
Okay. You want to know what rule you broke when you basically
Is he doing lines of coke?
I'm super confused,
say
dude.
what is it called? The
You
type of
seem to
argument
be
where
really
you make
upset
a
at me
new
about
argument
something.
and,
It's
and
like
evade
something that's
you
built up
evade
over
the
time.
point of the argument.
Because I thought, like, we've always been pretty.
It's
you know.
it's evading the point of the argument. You're evading the argument that you can't come up with a reason or facts. And I have all the evidence right here at Normal. We have a graph chart from the years 1975.
I'm
There
not
was about
talking about back
60,000
then.
arrests. It went up and down per year,
I'm talking
all the way
about
up to
like
2008.
2002, when in Santa
Yeah,
Cruz
when it
they legalized
proved.
medical.
I have the chart
I'm not
that
talking
proved
about
when the
before
ballot
then.
initiative passed for medical, less people are arrested. What's your
Nick,
point on to stand
Nick,
on now? Proof.
When the medical cards were here, that was not legal weed in California. Weed became legal like 4 or 5 years ago in California, and that's when that put a
Right,
bunch
because
of
it was a
new weed
progressive
laws
step
on.
of steps. Because
No,
I worked on
it's
both
a
those
step
ballot
down.
initiatives. And they both
You're not
worked.
listening to
Why?
me, Nico.
Yeah.
No, it's
You're not
man.
listening to me. It's a step down
Okay.
to go from not
Since to
having any laws on the books
2019 has the
against
lowest arrest
marijuana
of all.
to
Look at this
having
graph, bro. Look at this graph and
having
post it on your
them.
screen for all of your reviewing pleasure, so you can see your arrogance to statistics, bro. Because I love you, but
I
you
live
make
here.
arguments against
I
your
live
own
here, and I
well-being.
was a
Look it up
marijuana.
with the graphic.
Like, I had a card for 15 years in California. I know this because I lived it. If I didn't know the law, I would have ended up in
2019
jail.
has the least arrests of all of them. It's down under. It's got to be like
2014.
2014 had a little
Yes,
more. That was when it was still medical.
2014 was not when California went legal.
Yeah, because people were ignorant and didn't go through the
Oh
legal
my God.
process.
But
Look how many
This is like
people are
talking to
less
Houdini.
arrested from this graph, bro. Put it up on my screen. Share your screen so I can show this graph so you can just eat your shorts.
Why don't you just
Because you
tell me
love to
what the
argue,
graph
but you
is? I
don't
know
want
how
to look
share
at the
my
facts.
screen.
Share your screen, or you basically love to
Yeah.
argue and you
No,
don't
I
want to
like
look at the
that.
facts,
Your
actual
shorts?
statistics,
I'm gonna use that.
Something that's analytical. Share your
You
screen
point
right
your
now.
camera at it so
Oh,
we can
yeah,
see
I
it. I
forgot.
don't know how to
I
share a
hadn't heard
screen.
that.
Bro.
10
Bro.
years.
2014, there was still it was medicinal weed in California. I'm saying, yeah, that's when medicinal.
Look how many
that's
less
when there was
people
no
were arrested
laws
after
on
medical.
Wait for the bar to go away. So I think you misunderstood him. So he said in 2019.
the books.
Look at that drop. It went.
Yeah.
No
because
ballot
they took-
initiative. Ballot initiative.
No.
2019 when.
Hold up. Ballot-
Proof. How do you say there's less arrests and the ballot initiative doesn't work to reduce power of the state when I did that?
So this is normal.
Ballot initiative.
What ballot
So-
initiative
So
is he
you
even talking
misunderstood
about?
him. You heard 2014. He was saying in 2019 there was the lowest amount of arrests. So I don't know what the blue and the red lines are saying, but the green lines is total. I think it's saying down there. Yes, total. So lowest total arrests in 2019. I think this far right year. If you look at the bottom, the years, that's yes. So that's
Trying to
correct.
see if I can find it.
When he's pointing to that big drop right there, it says it's 1870, 1650,
Is this it here?
14, 12, 11. It's 2011.
Yeah, here it is here. Marijuana arrests 1960 to 2016.
So this one goes to 2019. So the weed became legal in 2016, I think.
Flatlined basically those couple of years.
So, but he's pointing to this ballot initiative, this big drop. A ballot initiative is 2011.
Okay.
That was not. That's not.
That was way before
weed did not
weed was
become legal. Now, there might have been a ballot initiative, but nothing was passed in 2011 and 2012. 2011 and 2012 was a very interesting time for politics. If you can remember,
Paul.
that was the Ron Paul time. That was a big election. 2012 was
and
a big
Ron
election
Paul
year.
was huge in California. California is the meteor center of the world.
Yeah, I mean, he
So-
was huge everywhere, but
and
yeah, California
just
was a huge.
all the
hub.
new libertarians, the police stuff and the weed stuff was like head of the sword. Why are people in jail for weed?
Yeah, for non-violent crimes.
Yeah.
That
so
was a social change, really, because of that
in
libertarian and
2010,
freedom movement.
2011,
Yeah,
2012.
that was a grassroots change, I would argue, rather than
If he's saying some ballot initiative was there,
Ron Paul might have tried to introduce something into the House, I think. Yeah. But nothing passed. Nothing
no.
passed.
Nothing passed till years later.
And if anything, that ballot initiative, that was from the momentum of that grassroots movement. And that was and it's an example of,
they
things
use
being
California
changed from the
for all
bottom
these
up.
crime statistics too. So it's like, I think what you're saying is true. Like, there was way more socially something going on than any other time in history, probably.
Yeah.
In a positive step towards legalizing stuff like
And
weed.
sure, like, okay, so 2011, 2012, 2014, 15.
He's saying it happened like here?
He just pointed, he said that he pointed to that big drop over 2011 as
No,
ballot initiative
that's
introduced,
not-
and look at what happened when we introduced it.
No.
So maybe he's
Nobody.
referencing the Ron Paul.
What he's saying
thing,
that
but that was a ballot initiative. He's saying
doesn't scare people into like.
I don't know if what he's talking about is for legalization, like
Legalization
not
came
caused by
6,
legalization.
7, 8 years later. And during that period of time, though, during this period after this big drop, that's what I'm talking to him about. The 2000 on was a very like, there was no penal code for arresting someone for possession of marijuana. They required you to have a card, a prescription, but the police can't ask you for it. That's your doctor privilege, right?
Yeah.
So they just they can ask. Sure, you could say no. That's the dumbest thing ever. If you get arrested for that, you're arrested for being a dumbass, not for having weed. And still, even then, cops weren't doing it because they really didn't care. I know that's kind of a generalization, of course, but it's still, from what I observed, paying very much attention to, my hometown, Los Angeles, where all this shit went down. Like it definitely, there wasn't, this dip he's talking about did not come from legalization. Legalization came all the way at the end when it's basically flatlined.
Happened in 2016, which this graph ends the year.
Sure, there's a little bit of a dip there, but
so yeah, there is a dip in 2017, 2016 and 2017, but it's not the dip he was pointing at is that significant one.
yeah,
So
so
I don't
he's
know.
just.
Maybe we're misinterpreting what he's trying to say.
But it doesn't seem like what he's saying is what this graph is saying.
Yeah.
And of course, Normal is a pretty questionable organization to begin with. And they're the ones that have been pushing. They pushed the legalization, so obviously they want to prove, and would put some graph out. I don't know where this graph is from. I should look it up, but he didn't tell us where it was from. He just said it was from Normal, which is just a weed website. Like, So I don't know. It's iffy, but this is not like there was no penal code to arrest someone for possession of marijuana in California for like 15 years. And then once it was legalized, then there became penal codes to arrest people for marijuana. And it generated more revenue for more policing around marijuana, which makes no sense. It's just like creating more endless federal jobs or something. But it's what he is saying. He's saying this ballot initiative saved the world, basically. And I'm saying, nah, dude, it was a step back for freedom in California.
You're just pointing at a graph, though.
Yeah, statistics, fucking numbers. What else do you base your real world view on?
And that's in 2014, right?
No, 2014 is right here when it was medical legalization. The number declines and it goes down, and it's going to keep going down by this graph.
Who did this?
Normal. The
Who?
advocacy for legalization.
No, who did this? It's got to be from the FBI Crime and Statistics Board, or it's got to be from. Yeah, that's what. What do you mean?
Okay, let's see. Well, of course they collect data.
If you're going to point at a crime statistic, it has to be
from the California DOJ.
I know we're appealing to the government, but
so you think they're reporting false numbers? Each person with a family.
What laws were on the books around California? What were these people getting arrested for?
That's a
cannabis.
I mean,
That's what this graph showed.
Trafficking hundreds of pounds of it through California?
No, just having it, whatever the misdemeanor offense was. It was misdemeanor offenses was red, the blue was minor possession, the green was
right?
We're talking about people going to jail.
And like, sure, yeah, like cops are corrupt, right? Like, so there could be, you know, it's
cops are arresting people for everything, no matter what. Yeah, and
felony was the red line. The less felonies,
tickets, dude.
Yes, the felonies went down. The felonies went down. Look at the graph again. Because you asked a question.
What felonies were on the book? No, I'm asking you what.
Later.
You can't just show me a graph and point at something. There's plenty of nuance in here. What were these people getting arrested for? If there were
felonies
no laws,
is the red line, misdemeanors is the blue line, and total is the green line. So felonies and misdemeanors. Those were part of the old statutes. Those are part of the old statutes. You can still look them up that we repealed with the cannabis laws, with the initiatives that we made.
We repealed with initiatives we made. I'm not sure
that was what we repealed. That you can look them up. They're all part of the archive of the state of California's.
And again, you're appealing to authority. You're saying this graph is legit.
Facts of our life, that you have a constitution that was changed because of people's actions that stopped hundreds of thousands.
The Constitution allows us to be taxed, bro. That's
awful. Why it also allows us to not be taxed.
Awful.
It also allows us to have
It allows the government to tax us and drop bombs on children with it, dude. We're not going to get them to stop by getting people to sign
the
petition.
reason why we need to take action to.
Like the Constitution also says we can have arms to, you know, kill tyrants, you know, but whatever. But like, but that's not.
Prevent those things from happening instead of just complaining about the problems and saying no, there's no
stuff we learned in 2012.
Well, you can't voluntarily stop those kind of mass assassinations of your government. It's going to take active participation
within the system, dude.
Yes, there is, bro.
No, there's not.
Veggies right here. I'm growing my vegetables, my kale,
my
Padini making a joke once things get fucking serious.
Oh, you think that was a joke? I grow my kale.
Grow my kale, right? Two plants
of
kale
in your room.
That's what he's doing about voluntarism.
It's not a solution to what's going on in this country.
Ballot initiatives are. You said volunteerism doesn't exist. Ballot initiatives are a solution. Ballot initiatives teaching volunteerism does. If you have ballot initiatives and you teach voluntarist solutions,
what did I do to make you so mad at me, Nico?
Ballot initiatives and petitioning the government is not a voluntarist solution to change anything. That's the opposite.
I don't
know. I'm just saying
this
the points are wrong. I'm passionate because you're being stubborn to realize you have the power with me, my friend, to work with other people to wake them up, to shatter their paradigms.
You have to pay taxes.
We don't have to sit here like slaves arguing that we watch the fucking fall of our empire and we're just going to go along with it like fucking useless slaves in our own system with no solution.
Our empire don't include me in your collective
because you're a beautiful person, because your life has value, because you're
I don't feel like I'm being treated like a beautiful person.
You just
You
gotta
just
wake
talked
up.
over
You
me
need like
for
a
like
stern
an hour and a
dad.
half.
You need,
Like,
you need like a stern dad to just say,
felt
son,
like
you're
I literally thought I was talking to an AI for 40 minutes. Like, it was like an AI set up to debate statism and including
because I shattered
libertarian
your
and
paradigm.
voluntarist
Only
talking
an
points.
AI
Like,
can do that. I take that as a compliment because your paradigm was temporarily shattered.
no,
but you got this
nothing
centrist.
was shattered in my
got some
paradigm,
kind of
bro.
like,
That's cute.
yeah, you do. You got some kind of like
We
collectivist.
haven't stayed
thing
on
that-
any subject long enough for you to teach me anything. For one, we've
Well,
been on
I'll
19
just look. I
different
showed you that.
subjects.
Let's also look at an archaeologist.
I want to
Just
talk
think of the
about
grand
dinosaurs.
of an archaeologist faking dinosaur bones and mummified Ankylosaurus, which they found recently. So, you know,
Who's
let's
they?
just pretend that was put
Who's
in there
they?
first.
Finding
Who's they, bro?
Archaeologists.
Archaeologists, paleontologists,
Yes.
the biggest scam artists
No,
in the
it's studying
history
world
of
history.
our
It's studying-
government.
It's studying, learning about the
USGS,
past. That's how
the
we've discovered
Smithsonian,
ancient culture. That's
the
how we've
Peabody.
researched ancient culture.
Like,
That's how we've discovered all ancient artifacts of our world, like
Martian
the Dead
Coke?
Sea Scroll.
Martian Coke?
No,
Are you talking about the
archaeology.
Bone Wars?
No, but
You know who
I do
Martian
know that. I
Coke
believe
are.
that
Do
they
you know about the
covered.
Bone Wars?
What do you
If
think
you
about-
know
I
anything
do know
about dinosaurs and you're going to teach me something about dinosaurs, you
Yeah.
must know who
I
these
do
guys
know
are.
about forbidden archaeology. That there's forbidden archaeology that they don't want us to know, like
Of
other
course.
bones of giants,
it's like-
giant
So
humans.
dinosaurs
and
are
things of this
real, but forbidden archaeology isn't?
No, they're both real. Of course,
both
dinosaurs
real.
are real, and ancient massive humans are real.
Yeah, the
course they
Nephilim,
are.
that's all. Yeah, and the Smithsonian has destroyed all that. Yet now you're defending this
Right.
the Smithsonian with our
Only
our
because-
elementary school
Only
dinosaurs.
because there's been so many archaeologists in the world, it gets
No,
to a
there
point where
hasn't.
they can't ignore if there's such pressure
Nico,
to show
there's
this past.
1,200 sets of dinosaur bones in existence. Not a single one of them is complete. There's not so many archaeologists that have found
That's
so
okay.
many
That's because
complete
bones
dinosaurs.
get scattered in the earth. The earth shifts.
They're
you know,
scattered
what
with
do you
millions of other animals' bones.
say? That's okay.
Do you know
That's
how
because
many?
the Earth
Do you
is
know
very
how
old.
many dinosaur bones have been found to be whale bones? It's funny that you brought up whales because whale bones are the #1 top bone that's used to lie to people about dinosaurs.
Okay.
watch the Bone Wars.
Well, you can show me if you have I'm open-minded. If you can show me like a report of such findings that disprove dinosaurs and
There's
all this
no report
fakery,
because
then great.
if you go and
well,
look up the history of dinosaurs as we know it, you get the story of the Bone Wars, one of the most obviously fabricated bullshit propaganda stories made up to invent an entire industry of research that you've ever researching this stuff with an open mind. There's no way you can't come to the conclusion that we've been lied to. These people hobbled together, but all these bones, and there's literally no evidence we can go look at right now that proves it at all.
It's a T-Rex skull. It's clearly
You're
some new
Googling
type of
dinosaur bones right now.
Fake
That's
stuff
not
that you
how
think
we're
that
gonna
they made in the
figure
lab to
this out.
like industrial designer to print out plastic, and then they bury it under the earth, and they trick these people that go to school their whole lives to be archaeologists, that they're finding what they've always went to school for. That's their big expedition.
No,
they dig
he's
multiple
saying
pits,
he
they don't find
agrees that
anything
there has
for a
been
grant
some
and a contract
manipulation.
to dig more.
But not to the extent I'm saying.
Finally
Wait,
find
wait,
someone in a
wait.
place that the elite planted for them. They knew they were going to look at that place on the earth because they planned it.
And so you believe
so
that
they
the
can do this
elites are
multiple times all
planning
over the world.
false archaeological stuff, but you believe all of their dinosaur stuff.
I think that's too massive for them to accomplish and get away with.
No,
I think that they could
doesn't
never get
believe
away with
that.
that.
He's
No.
saying that's what he thinks you believe. He's saying he thinks you believe that China made these bones out of plastic or
and just
plaster
boned them?
and then buried
Yeah,
them
well,
for the archaeologists to find. That's not even the
He's
argument here.
assuming my
So that's a mistake. There's a whatever you want to call it, miscommunication, but that's not what you were saying, if I understand correctly.
I think they
No.
can get away with the moon landing.
They can get it. Okay,
I
here
think that
I'm
we
going
can
to
find
show you
evidence
how
of
they
other
deceive all of us. I'm going to
conspiracies,
show
but
you.
This one's
I'm going to explain. I'm going to show you how
This
it
one's
works.
like
right?
flat Earth. That's all this
No.
is.
Some
No evidence.
farmer comes across on his land some goofy looking bones, right? He tells the authorities, hey, there's some strange looking big bones down here, right? So the authorities come down, the paleontologists and archaeologists show up, dig everything up, the Smithsonian takes it, and the Smithsonian says, oh, we had all of our people look at it. It's dinosaurs. And everyone believes it. That's how easy it is. And then they shove dinosaur stuff.
A creature of that ancient time, it has a word for it. So we're using English, and this is how we communicate. It's called
the
a
media,
dinosaur.
They use elementary school. They use Barney the dinosaur, Barney the dragon. They use all this media to reinforce their very shaky.
They use the word
evidence,
bro. You
very shaky evidence. Go watch Jurassic Park.
Okay, let me show you why
dinosaurs are the size bigger than buildings. They're like 10-story buildings. That's what they shove down our throats. Yet when we research, we find these scientists and paleontologists holding bones that are like horse-sized bones, and they're saying, "Oh,
they also have ones that are way bigger. They have ones like heads like of a T-Rex, like this big."
They have never found an intact T-Rex head, bro. And there are also things called anomalies.
I'm looking at it, and you can go look at more images on Google Images and just.
Science is when you find something in the ground that looks like something, but it's not, and everyone gets fooled by anomalies all the time.
Okay.
And
but what do you call that then? You say it's the mystery thing with sharp teeth and a skull. What do you call it? I call it a dinosaur myself.
You're assuming that's what it is because you've been taught by our media to think dinosaurs look a certain way.
Because it's archaeologists everywhere. I don't assume this is because let's just say that there's a whole conspiracy of archaeologists everywhere.
Only know what dinosaurs look like because dipshits
not
drew
much more of an assumption.
That's only,
and it's these people's lives. It's multiple media sources that are not, you can't connect unless you connect.
The media. So trust the museums, trust the scientists.
Every media source that says they found an archaeologist team that dug these up. It's like a futile argument that would go on for infinity.
But he agreed that the Smithsonian takes over. He knows they take over any dig, any archaeological find.
Dinosaurs, they're completely
they just
about. Yes, that's what he's saying.
But he's just saying, all the media
NASA
sources get their information.
For space travel.
All the media sources get their information from from these
authorities.
Yeah. So
it's an
appeal. The problem, Jeff, is that you premise to have a nihilist view of the future with no solution and argue into infinity.
Those were all
that you would waste your time to argue.
Assumptions and straw men.
But you waste your.
But you
waste your time to argue.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I wish you had more energy in life to captivate yourself.
25 minutes ago, I brought up a Mises. I want you to go. I really want you to go look up this Mises lecture I told you about earlier. Chaos theory. I really want you to go watch that and tell me that I have a nihilist future. You're making crazy assumptions, dude. I don't know what all this aggression is from towards me. I must have pissed you off a long time ago.
No, it's not aggression.
That's you've always been so nice to me online, and it's really strange that you're having this
stubborn
kind of
perspective.
weird,
they think that it's aggressive. What it is
recognizing that you're doing here.
You have given up on yourself. You've given up on the human race to suggest that we could ever do anything other than challenge the absolute tyrants you say you're against. So basically, you say you're against all these problems, but you're not interested in understanding how we can
I've given up on life yet.
Like truly someone who's running away from the truth. And that's sad. And you would have arguments arguing to infinity, like the realism of a bone that we see and we hear from archaeologists, or the earth is flat. It's an endless argument. That's what the elite want, because that one eyeball that they have, the Illuminati eye. That eyeball was made so that you only see things in 2 dimensions. You're not able to see things from a dimension at this time, to see that the sun's rays dissipating from the clouds is actually due to the same optical illusion, and that all of your optical illusions are created through the problem when you actually have a 2-dimensional mindset. You actually are a victim of the Illuminati. Do you think the railroads connect in vision because you see them down the railroad track, and you don't have an awareness that we can solve problems? You're caught in a cycle they want, which is delusion of arguing and complaining about their problems and having meaningful arguments instead of taking control of your life, investing in your future, manifesting your dreams, creating solutions for people that actually work. And that's where I have a real passion to shake you out of it, Jeff, because you need to actually.
I don't want to be shaken, bro. And so Ron Paul in 2011 with Barney Frank introduced a bill to legalize marijuana in 2011, which Nico might have worked on that, but it wasn't passed. So I don't know what he's trying to argue.
That graph, the normal graph.
That graph is completely wrong.
He might have been a little confused on the timeline and that big drop.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Again, I think he ate a little too many edibles.
Oh.
Take your life by the horns and get on this train. We got to go and make a difference in our lives. And you actually, as a human being,
that's misrepresenting the argument completely, and it's definitely not nihilistic. Like, what?
With your social security number, have the means to collect 100, 250,000. It's risky, but I imagine
now he's trying to get me to take a loan from the government and start a business.
Wait. That's
smart enough to have a business plan, and I want you to follow your dreams. And I just want that for everybody as an activist, instead of complaining about the earth shape. Like, fuck it. You want to stop some corruption in government? Let's do that. Let's talk about doing something meaningful. Let's do something meaningful for our future and actually stop the corruption and not just say how obvious it is. Okay.
We all agree. I think you and I and him agree about that. It's just you guys disagree in the method to get there. He thinks still by using the state you can get there. And the anarchists and voluntarists and agorists are saying, no, that's the opposite. You need to stop putting energy towards the state in order to create solutions outside of the state.
It's been strange. The more of these I do, almost everyone I debate with takes this jab at me. They're just like, oh, you just, and these are like truthers. And they're just like, oh, you're just, like what he's saying, you're this nihilist, you just, oh, we should just give up and, all this anti-government stuff. And it's like, no. Not.
Nihilism would be the government has so much power and there's no way we could work outside the state. So what's the point? Just fuck it. Like that would be nihilism.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're saying.
No. And it's funny that I mentioned halfway through this chaos theory. Because if you know chaos theory, it's not a nihilistic. It's a
that is a solution right there for a lot.
Solution.
Yeah.
To what's going on in this country right now and getting rid of the federal government. That's the bane of our existence.
Pisces was wrong because you can only talk about the places of how
I'm
to
sorry.
help
I'm going to go back 10 seconds.
You don't stop the corruption and not just say how obvious it is. Okay, Pisces was wrong because you can only talk about the places of how to help yourself. He doesn't talk about how to take action in our governmental structure and our legal system to bring back our rights.
Of Mises, but one of his lectures is mind-blowing, and you should definitely check it out because you have some sort of odd perception of
because they don't involve themselves
in mixed up with someone else, or you're just really upset at a certain type, and you place that type on me.
99.99% of alternative media is false because they have a paradigm of talking about problems. They don't show you solutions. They are the gatekeepers because they have the influence to tell you about the problems and make you anxious.
You're right.
They want to make you complain
about that exact same subject. I 100% agree. That's why I left We Are Changed. That's why I left working for Adam Kokesh. That's why I don't work for alternative media, and that's why I often call them out. I know these people. I actually hit them up and say, what the hell is your outlet doing writing about these stories? I do it all the fucking time. That's how I make a difference. That's one of the ways I make a difference. By holding my friends accountable who work in media, but that's part of the part. That's a tiny part of the subject. I don't understand where you've made all these assumptions and you think that my opinions are a certain way. When
let's talk about
you're
something
obviously
meaningful
upset
about our lives.
About something, or you've gotten, or something we spoke about once you didn't like.
That people waste their lives, that they're caught in a trap, and it's a trend that people tend to reflect on their problems and argue in an echo chamber amongst themselves, being involved in solutions. So my creative construct of a conversation is solution oriented.
What problems am I saying I have? I'm just grabbing one of the things you're saying. And I'm just trying to get you to prove where you think that.
Well, I hope we never have a problem.
I'm always complaining about my problems.
That's true.
What problem are you talking about?
Well, there's always the overall problem if people are just complacent with the system as if they think that there's no problems.
What
But I'm sure
system?
you can recognize one or two problems with government that we would want to stop.
Do I?
And you'd want to
Dude,
know how to take action
I
on that.
stopped posting about government like in 2013.
I think you guys are you're not even arguing about the same, like like
No,
you guys
he
are.
doesn't. He hasn't been on the same subject enough for me
Yeah,
to
like there's
even
too much
like
jumping
debate
around
anything.
because he was just bringing up all these things, and then you interpret it as wait. So you're saying that, which is what I thought. You're saying that I talk too like about my problems, or you only complain about your
It's very
problems.
confusing.
And then you're
to talk to
saying, what
him.
do you mean? And you're like, and then he's saying, oh no, but don't you agree government's up? So I think there's just a lot going on here, and you
Well,
guys
he
are
was
not
like
even.
trying to trick me into saying shit, and I'm just
I
like,
guess, like I don't know.
I don't talk about government. Like, you know, I
Well, you
post
should.
pictures of
You should say how
of
corrupt
like,
it is
party
at least.
paradigm shit.
Huh?
No, sorry.
You should at least tell people how corrupt it is, at least all the status and
I don't-
followers, you know. At
I-
least.
yeah, that's
like a civic
everything
duty.
that I do.
The
Go
human-
look at my YouTube. Go watch
Okay.
the lecture
No, then
I
that's
just
good.
recommended you watch. You're
All I'm saying
talking
is that's
about
a good
solutions
that's a good
within
point.
this system
Yeah.
by including yourself in
Yeah.
the system.
But just
Every
waking
single
everybody
person
up
I've
that
ever
they're
seen in my life
Yeah.
or researched, anyone who's gone into the system immediately became corrupt, including Ron Paul, including anyone who's taught us anything along
this
the line.
goes around that. Beautiful. Thank you. Let's pause. I agree with you. Because including Ron Paul, he's not someone to give up his power or relinquish it to a philosophy
human
that
will
is
give up their power at some
non-hierarchical
point.
power.
Every human is corruptible.
That's what we want is
Therefore, take the humans out of governing others.
for
Therefore,
a system
chaos
that is
theory,
a
the
horizontal
Mises lecture
power structure
I've
between
recommended
us.
you go
Us as
listen
people.
to now like 4 times.
What's he looking for?
Please send it to me because
He was looking
afraid I
for-
couldn't Google it and
Yes.
find it on my DuckDuckGo.
I will
So
definitely
please,
send it to you.
please send me that link if it's so important. I appreciate
Yeah.
or where to find it. But I'm always open to new ideas. But why distract what I'm talking about with the Mises argument, appealing to another philosopher when you yourself have
I'm not
realized
appealing
even
to
from all
Mises.
his
I'm
teachings
just simply
you,
telling you
even though he's given you all the knowledge
one
that
lecture
you
he
value,
did that was very
you don't
powerful
have an
that
argument
changed
against
my mind about a lot of
reform.
things. I'm not saying he's I'm not worshiping him like he's Elon Musk and I'm some, NPC fanboy. I'm just pointing out one bit of information that he put out that was really interesting.
Okay, let's know that. Knowing that that's straight. So that's good. So, but here's my question. Knowing that you learned things from Macy's, why don't you articulate that as your arguments against why this referendum system, this ballot initiative system, these statistics show that less people are arrested is not something worth striving for? Go ahead, because otherwise you would say, yes, I want to be a part of that. Otherwise, I'm asking you why you would argue against that. Why can't we be friends to think we should work on our future together and actually fix it directly in this way?
I do. You're doing that. Lots of my friends are working within the system. I don't choose to do that tactic. I
This
did.
Is the problem with that. That tactic
for
is
several years
is
of my
based
life
on
as
collective effort. The tactic can't happen without people that realize the problems.
It's almost like he has a chip on his shoulder about
That's what I'm saying.
He has a chip on his shoulder about it because it's like, all right, dude, you do your thing, and we'll do our solutions and from outside the state.
They're like, you put so much effort into things you put effort into, but I think those are stupid, and you should be putting effort into things I think are stupid.
Yeah.
It's like every person I interview with, it's the same thing. They're just like, oh well, like. You're so extreme, like, am I? Like, don't you need people like me to set the bar? Like,
well, it's not just that. Like, we were just talking about, like, how to have change in laws or society or the world, how to make conditions better for people, right? Like, that's the solution, how to make people more free. And it's just, like, I would think he would understand that there's ways to do that outside the state, and he's trying to argue that this way of doing it, ballot initiatives, is outside of the state and is voluntarism.
Because anyone can do it. He thinks because anyone can do it, it's voluntarism.
But
because you don't have to be a politician to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's not.
Yeah,
And you're not even
or
saying.
yes, that's true, but it's not like how he's explaining it.
Yeah.
Like it's this all powerful thing that we all yield, and it's like wield.
35
arbitrarily
years
say no for no
thinking
reason.
like
They
that.
actually change themselves. They evolve. They say,
Yes,
oh, now
I
I've seen all the
evolved.
proof. I evolve to accept truths. I don't arbitrarily say no for no reason because I don't want to admit that I was wrong or that I wasn't aware of the direct action that could solve
No
our
idea what
future
you're
problems.
talking about right now.
This government is corrupt, and it's going to keep making
I'm
laws.
aware of that, but yet you're the one.
You.
You're the one arguing that I should
Your
re-involve
family
myself with it.
California is the most likely of
The
people
most
to wake up.
beautiful, most close to anarchy state that we have in our union is California. Y'all just don't understand that.
You love it there?
Absolutely.
You love the government's actions there? You think the government's just
the government
wonderful?
does the same in every other state.
Yes.
You can argue that one state might be better.
No, that's not. No, not when there's been 100 years of history showing we could chip away and stop their corruption. I'll give you an example of the Federal Reserve power. In 1919,
I already know about
early.
the Federal Reserve, dude.
No.
The
state
I
of
know
North
everything
Dakota.
there is to know about the Federal Reserve, just about. So
okay, do you know about the state of North Dakota and what they did to resist them, which is why they were not
my
suffering
mom
from
tells me about it all the
2008.
time. She tries to get me to move there. Like, I get it, like literally my mom didn't talk to me for 3 months because she's mad because I don't want to move to North Dakota.
North Dakota. Guess how petitioners like me, I wasn't alive then, but we saved North Dakota, which is why your mom begged you to go back.
Slightly better than fucking New York, dude. It's not that much better. Like, you
That's
guys are
because people
delusional
haven't
with
taken
this,
action
like,
on bigger issues.
territorial.
But they stopped the financial collapse, bro. They
didn't
objectively
stop
did something that solved
They
the
stopped-
problem. Do you even know how? You say you know everything, but do you know how North Dakota
How do you
stopped
know
the
there was-
financial collapse?
How do you know there was
by
a
the Federal
financial
Reserve?
collapse? The government told you? How do you know?
Because there's data on the fact
There's
that
data,
their
government
housing
data,
crisis,
exactly.
they did not have a housing crisis. They did not have a farming and land crisis among
You
the
don't think the
landowners
government
during the 2008
manufactures
financial
crises,
collapse.
dude? You don't think the government manufactures crisis using
Of course,
the media?
that's why they
and
passed.
if you're getting
a-
your information from the
That's
media,
why they've created
you're
an
falling
initiative.
for it. Like, how are you not understanding that any
No, this is on an
information you
archived-
get
This is on an
not,
archived fact
not
database, bro,
factual?
like Wikipedia.
It's inaccurate information you
This
get.
is
which
like
coming from the
archived, like
government.
reporting of the state's history. Okay, the state's history. You know, it's a fact that they didn't suffer during the 2008 collapse. That's just recent. Anyone can look at that. And if
They
you
didn't
actually
suffer,
did the
everyone
research and
suffered.
said you
What do you
wanted
mean?
to know, no, they did not have a housing collapse. They did not have the financial repercussions of the Federal Reserve bailing themselves out.
The people behind an imaginary
North
line
Dakota.
that government told
Yeah.
you exists?
North Dakota.
Yeah, North Dakota's a fictional legal place.
North Dakota is a location that's geography.
Nicholas, what
And
would
in that
you say if
location,
I
people-
told you that I
property
don't?
taxes
I
and their
believe
values did not collapse.
you believe that because
Property
the
values
government
are a real
told you
thing.
that.
You won't agree until you're a landowner. But real thing.
Yeah, so you just took
Property
the
values are
word
a
of
real
a bunch
thing.
of
and if you don't think
of
those are
people that are in
important-
the two-party paradigm that are completely clouded with rage
No, they're
against
people independents
liberals.
that are landowners. You don't even have to be registered to vote to know that your property values are great, even after the whole nation has a recession. You're like, I'm in North Dakota. I don't know what happened here, but I'm cool. And
If
they're
the property
they
values are
bro,
based in the dollar,
just
it's
shows how-
worthless. If the property values are based in the dollar, they're worthless. They're inflated numbers that the local governments either are.
That's why you have
Make up.
argorism to have silver and gold. No,
You don't know
that's
what
not.
That's why you have
What's argorism, babe? So we just
agorism.
at this point, I think I figured out that Nico's not a libertarian or a voluntarist or anything like that. He's
He's a
very much a
centrist.
centrist
Yeah.
slash still
Which
maybe pseudo conservative or something like that, but still very much a statist compared to my position, which is full on anarcho-capitalist.
or just objectively, it's objectively a
Yeah.
more status position. I mean, you're using it's putting time and energy into the state and
Which
its
is
function
the state is there to waste everyone's time.
right. And I understand the point, and I understand the the point, what he's after, right? Like what
Yeah.
I was saying, like everyone having a better life, or people having a better life, more freedom. But
We're not going to get that through government.
it's a difference in philosophy, I guess, and belief, in ideology.
And that's why I
It's a different
originally
ideology,
earlier
like-
on cut him off from this conversation, because I'm like, we're never gonna agree on any of this shit, dude.
And it's kind of like old hat, right? Like we've
Yeah.
all been. It's like since 20, at least with me, and like just like since 2012, this is like
I learned
base
all
stuff.
this stuff in 2012
Libertarian
and
stuff,
2011.
and then turning into
Yeah.
an anarchist and voluntarism and agorism. Like, this is basics, and I feel like he's missing some of those basics, but still trying to play ball and
Yeah.
like be in the group. Like, no, but I'm like, I'm a libertarian, but this is like
I used to talk about this a
Libertarian
lot.
Party
There's
libertarian,
fans of libertarianism and there's libertarians.
Yeah.
And this was something that I realized very quickly in the libertarian movement. There's like a lot of these just, I don't want to call them fake libertarians. They're just fans of libertarianism.
Oh, what did Paul call
but
it?
they don't-
Fanarchists?
Fanarchists.
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 It's a good one.
It's, they're into it, but they're not practicing it at all. Like some of us are, and it's kind of, and so this is when I realized that, this is what I was dealing with here. I thought Nico is a little bit more deep on this stuff, but he still doesn't know that it's agorism, not argorism.
Argorism, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Which, whatever.
Whatever,
okay, we all
like
mess
I
up.
said, I
It's
think he had a
fine.
little
I
couple
just-
too many
Oh.
dabs or
No.
a couple too many weed brownies before he started this debate, which is fine, but sometimes it doesn't help you.
Word
True.
is,
It's valued
dude,
in silver and gold.
agorism is the antithesis of
Huh?
petitioning, bro. Petitioning the government is not agorism.
I know.
Then
You
what
can
are you
have
talking
both. It's
about?
not the antithesis. It's yin and yang. It's yin and yang, bro. It's got to be equal balance to have a world that solves
But
its
that's
problems.
not what you came. That's not what's been coming out of your mouth the whole time.
Yeah, I'm petitioning you to understand this process, because when it works with voluntarism, we can fix the problems. With voluntarism alone, you can't stop the other tyrannies, as you also pointed out. The state of North Dakota.
I've already
has
examined
continued-
everything you were talking about for the majority of my life, and I came to the realization that there was no point in wasting my time participating in the American political system that was invented as a reality TV show to distract us from the fact that we have no choice whatsoever about anything. So why would I try and vote these problems away when the voting system has been there as a distraction?
And look at the history of California. We legalized marijuana. We're
Legalizing marijuana in California was a massive step back for California.
We
It
got rid
generated
of
more
traffic cameras. We got
revenue
rid of
for the
fluoride
government.
in the
It
water.
created new laws to put
We've
people
done
in
so
jail.
much better things.
You are wrong. You are absolutely wrong about what you think happened in California.
It graph
And pointing
speaks
at
for
some
itself.
stats that the government
Jeffrey,
put
you're-
out is
Look at
not
this
is an
fucking
appeal
graph.
to authority.
That's
and
the
how
marijuana
you,
policy
as a
project. They are
truther,
not the government.
as a truther, as a libertarian and an
because it
agorist
came
and a
from the data report
voluntarist,
of the
think
crimes.
that pointing at your government statistics
You
is
just
gonna-
don't believe
is
in
gonna
reality,
be-
Jeff. How much ayahuasca
No,
does it take?
I live here, dude.
You don't believe in
I've
reality.
lived
bro.
here my entire life. I know how
There is data on
legalities
arrests,
around the
and they
weed
have gone
system in
down.
California.
That's a fallacious argument that you're
Yes.
saying because I lived here. My
There was
anecdotal
not a
experience.
law
I
on
know
the
those
books.
data arrests didn't exist. Okay, Jeff.
People are
That's
getting
a
arrested all the time again in California.
What caused
Man,
them
of
to
course
go-
they are, but the numbers have gone down by like
No,
What
they
caused them
have
to go
not.
down? It's not
80%.
it's up for
Just by the
makes no
stats I
sense.
showed you in the
He's
graph.
saying
Let's
his
look at it
petition
again.
There's a
Yes,
black
I
market
know.
again. There wasn't a black market
He
for
did it.
15, 16 years.
Neat.
It was great.
That's cool. We're talking about arrests.
It
We're
was
talking about
great.
arrests. We're not talking.
Yeah, actual arrests. Your government facts. that
These
you
are
think-
people that were
government.
felony
You're
and-
saying the government by putting this out is saying that they did something right, and you're agreeing with them. You're like, I'm going to take
No,
your
I'm
word for
agreeing
it that
that
you
the
did
numbers
something
have
right.
gone down, and that is progress.
You don't
because
know
instead of-
those numbers are not accurate.
Okay, Jeff, this
You
is where we
think
have to have
normal,
calls for the long call.
dude? Normal?
You have a different
Really?
objective reality.
Objective
love you, bro.
reality.
Keep not
yeah,
eating
I don't
animals.
believe anything the government
You know,
says.
have fun
you
arguing.
You
It's
love
cool,
the
bro.
government.
It's cool.
You love begging for your masters.
I love to
please
solve the
give me
problems
some.
of the government.
Please give me
Actually,
my rights
right.
back, master.
I
You know,
like
here
to-
I
I
got
like
a bunch of
to
people to
use-
write a bunch of to sign their name on this to beg for our rights back that you took from us.
It's not begging because it's actually
is.
doing. It's a difference of begging.
Petitioning
It's
is
a difference of
begging.
begging.
You're begging
No,
your
it's not.
master.
It's only begging you. It's not begging a politician. It's begging you to sign with us so that we can have a vote to overturn them. It's not a beg. It's an action. It's a value. It's a value. It's like if you live in a community and they're spraying pesticide all over your front yard zucchini gardens because they want to spray it on the sidewalk, enough people go up, talk to the community maintenance, and you say, look, we have vegetables here. Can you stop that? And you get them to stop. It's direct democracy. It's how societies form and
not what you're talking about.
with their decision rather than
begging
the decision
government to allow us to have our rights
it's
back.
A value and it's a right.
They'll never give us.
Privilege
your entire life, they will not give us any of our rights back. And you'll
they
spend
already
your
did.
life
They gave
begging
the right
them.
to cannabis back.
Right.
Again, I keep
I
having to
had
go back.
weed. I had weed in California.
If people
before it
that
was
smoke weed
legalized.
can figure this out, certainly you can, because you smoke enough weed.
It's the biggest
Maybe
flub in the political. It's the biggest laughing stock in politics in California is the legalization of weed. I've made video before it was legalized, and I made video after.
All these people are not arrested. Sure. That's a laughing stock.
Not,
people are laughing when they don't get arrested.
Your government stuff, your government facts aren't accurate. It makes no
show
sense.
some articulation.
If you look at the facts of what you look at the laws,
but you realize an argument with no facts
and use common sense, you don't look at the government graphs.
An argument with no facts, Jeff, is the most ignorant kind, that you don't have counter facts other than these that have been substantiated. But
the Loch Ness Monster's real.
I have to go. I love you, bro. But keep me. Peace.
And then he runs away. And then proceeds to text me all day long. All day. Like, huge paragraphs about how I'm wrong. And I'm like, bro, still going. Still going. I'm all, bro, you're saying a lot for someone who just ran away from our debate.
So why did he leave if he had so much more to say?
Because I wouldn't give him concrete evidence. He's all, I just really need some concrete evidence. And I'm like, bro, not everything in the world has concrete evidence that we have access to.
For what? For dinosaurs? Or not being real?
Who knows at
concrete
this point?
For what?
I don't know what he was even.
Because there was a lot of subjects.
That first 45 minutes was like, oh my god, dude! Like, what are you talking about for one? And like, why won't you let me? Like, you hit me up to have a discussion. You haven't let me say a word for literally like 28 minutes. As you just jump from subject to subject to subject to subject and did like 3 sentences on each subject. And it's like, I don't know. It was just really tough and exhausting. But what I learned was Nico's a centrist. You know, I assumed he was a little bit more knowledgeable on the stuff. The stuff. But he wants us to vote our way to freedom, and I just don't agree with that. And I hope he watches the Robert Murphy Louis Mises.
Oh no.
Ludwig von Mises Murphy Chaos Theory. I hope you guys all do too. I have it on my Facebook. It's one of the most interesting pieces of literature I've come across. Yeah, solutions to what we're in right now that are attainable within our lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. That was just, it was very exhausting. And I don't know. He ran away, and that's the smile I had on my face at the end. I don't know, that was a tough one, but I was not expecting that in the least bit. Like, I basically went into this thinking we were going to have this cool discussion, and that is what he told me. And that he wanted to like hear, he was really interested to hear my insight on flat earth and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, not really a flat earther, dude, but like I have some interesting ideas about these things, but he didn't give me a moment to say anything. He probably would have really been interested in the things I'd said, but he didn't give me any chance to say anything. And this has happened, how many times this week, where someone just can't And I remember like early on making videos, Nico told me he just wants to start a podcast, and he hasn't done this that much. And I remember early on doing, loads of interviews and stuff for Adam and everything early on, like having a lot of trouble interrupting people, not letting people talk. It's very hard doing interviews, especially if you're a chatty person and you have stories to tell. I'm a lot better at it now. And so doing lots of interviews with people and whatever debates with people who aren't normally doing this, they do have a major problem letting people just talk, or letting, I felt like he just came on, talked the whole time, and just made tons of assumptions about what my positions were. And, you know, my advice to Nico is just be yourself, dude. We will talk to you guys later. Allie
Click it.
and I are out. Peace.